and better things? Or would a thawed out Walt Disney use Facebook? The answer is yes, and let me tell you why. Okay. Oops, this is out of order. No, it's not. Okay. So this is where I grew up. Do I have a laser pointer? I need a laser pointer. Laser pointer, please. So this is where I grew up. This house right here, this image was taken after I moved out, so I never had that trampoline, which is probably good because I would have done some serious damage to myself. This was my elementary school right here. There was a great forest stair right here that I used to skate or pretend to skate. And this is San Diego. Zooming out, you can see what my surroundings were. Zooming out a bit further, what my surroundings were. And a bit further, these were my surroundings. So this is where my house was. This was my elementary school. This is my middle school. This is my high school. Yeah. I moved here in 9th grade. This one was my house with the pool. I lived there for the pool. And zooming out, zooming out, zooming out. So this is where I live. Very suburban. This would be what we consider exurban. It's outside of the suburbs, which is pretty impressive to get, more suburban than this. Jesus Christ, look at this. So it was a traditional, I guess the term is McMansion, if you will. This track housing that is big and maybe shoddy construction, I'm not really sure. So let's see where we were. So yeah, this is the full view of my neighborhood. Once again, my house is, oh, well, I don't even know anymore. It's right here, actually. Here it is. Yeah, there it is.
What's the context of these pictures?
The context? So I have a side note first. So map and territory relation.
The maps were a side note?
The whole thing's a side note. So maps, is this a map? It's hard to say because it's an image, but I guess it is a map because it's on it's maps.google.com. So a few notes about maps, and that I think the most key takeaway right here is this. What is on a paper map is the representation of what the map maker saw. So that is to say that no map is ever accurate, and a map is just a map of a map of a map of a map. And this just infinitely recurses, and we don't really know what the actual territory looks like because it's always subjective to the map maker, the cartographer. So yeah, an infinite series of maps. So this is, this whole map and territory, no. This whole map and territory relation goes beyond just these actual maps, and a map and a territory can be anything. In the case of the Diary of Tristram Shandy, it's a story about a man who is writing a diary, and he writes a page in the diary for every day of his life, but it takes him 1 year to write about one day. This is what's known as the super task, and it is obviously impossible to complete. It's impossible to complete. Agreed? Right? Basic common knowledge, right? Okay. Moving on. Part 1. This was me. So, obviously I can say that I'm not Asian, but I think I was. This is actually the only picture I have of me as a kid. I grew up. So, me and my friends did basic suburban kid things. This is us standing in a parking lot at night, like I'm sure most of you guys did, right? We were bored a lot of the time. This is me sitting in a garage. This is what we did a lot. We sat in garages. This is the same track jacket both times. These are like years apart. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Nothing changes. but everything changes. Moving on. Oops. So we sat in coffee shops a lot. Oh, this is totally out of sync. Look at this. Catch up. Hang on. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So we sat in coffee shops a lot. Same freaking track jacket. I didn't plan this. I did not plan this. That's the same track jacket as the previous 3 pictures.
This was before best days.
Yeah. This precursor. So sat in a lot of coffee shops. These are all different occasions. I could have had days of these images. This was the view from my house. We sat in parks and, Panda Express. Suburban parks, porta potties. If you grew up outside of a city, you probably played on the train tracks at least once, right? We all did. Skateboarded in parking lots late at night. Sat in parking lots late at night. This was a golf course at 4 a.m. And if you're grateful enough to have a big mountain in your suburb, then you often go on top of the mountain and just hang out. I don't know. But, here's a series of images on mountains. This is us on a mountain when our neighborhood was burning down. That's fire. I'm so serious. Mountains, man. We were just on them. Mountains. So this is walking up to a mountain. So we did really simple things when I was a teenager, and whenever I go back to San Diego, these things were all great, fantastic times of my life. Whenever I go back to San Diego, it's just never the same though. You couldn't call it nostalgia or whatever you want, but I long for days like this. But when I go back to San Diego, they are not there. I can't hear you. All right. The TARDIS. Round 2. So, time travel. Before we get into time travel, a couple of notes about time travel. There's one huge philosophical qualm within time travel, and that is the tracking of yourself. So that's only a qualm if you believe that time travel produces a replicate version of yourself versus you just go back into time. And if you believe that you just go back in time, you're not replicated, then this would be a good time for you to go make a sandwich or something, because this won't matter to you at all. So assuming that you are replicated, you get bored one day, and I'm going to kind of give this to you as a version control view of time travel. The way I see version control is roughly index1.php and index2.php and indexreally.php. But for you computer science people, this is time travel version control version. So you get bored one day, make a branch of yourself, and you send it back 6 months into time, or however long. Doesn't really matter, even though it totally does. So you're now living 2 concurrent lives. We can all agree on this. But which life is yours is the question. So the short answer is both. The long answer is none. So in order to regain... What? Yeah, funny. So in order to regain singularity within your life, a couple of things you have to do. You have to rebase your secondary life back into your real life, whatever one that is, but probably the one, you're going to have conflicts because you made some changes. You're going to have to make them work in your new life. And you have to, most importantly, blindly and selfishly rewrite history. Okay, moving on. So, a couple of days ago, I had a dream. And at this dream, everybody I've ever been friends with or ever really been acquaintances with were at this one party together. And so this is from 16 Candles. So this huge part of everybody you've ever met It sounds like a great idea because we've seen movies like this, 16 Candles, or Can't Hardly Wait. But there's issues with this party, right? We can all agree on that. So beyond how fun it would be to have everybody in your high school or whatever at this party, there's problems. And these problems obviously go beyond which Daft Punk album to play. However, if you're curious, the answer would be Alive 2007, and Discovery would be a very close second, but second nonetheless. So if you will, take a moment and picture yourself at this party with everybody you've ever been friends with or been acquaintances with. I'm talking your aunt, I'm talking your uncle, your old boss, your principal, your 10th grade English teacher, the girl you had a crush on in 6th grade, the girl that broke your finger in 2nd grade, everybody. Okay. Picture yourself, live it, imagine it. So walking around the party, you would see your uncle. And for me, that's particularly problematic because he's a raging alcoholic, and that would obviously introduce some problems with the fellow partygoers. But that's just me. And he's elbow to elbow with your best friend, who is dancing with your 10th grade English teacher. And the girl with the goatee from Blue Bottle is cheersing champagne with this douchebag from high school. And your old neighbor is playing sex dice while your aunts are drinking Frangelico in the kitchen. People are dancing on tables. You see your aunt and playing weed with your neighbor and your old boss. And the girl you had a crush on, who's also an alcoholic, so it's kind of awkward. So this whole thing goes on, but it doesn't get a whole lot pretty from here. There's just more social awful things that will happen. For instance, your best friend eating cake frosting with your ex-girlfriend in your blanket. Or people with cake on their face. So we've arrived at social Armageddon, and it's awkward, and we don't know how to interact. So if we were to label this party, if we were to put a name on this party, the invitation would say, please join us for a rousing event. The event name would probably be something like this. So Twitter and the aforementioned party bring up very similar social questions that make it really hard to interact. So predicaments within social Armageddon. Who do you talk to? Who do you follow? And how do you keep track and interact in a room or a party that is completely devoid of social context? So why is this the case? So the character limits that Twitter enforces are not only awful, sure could keep the database schema low, but it really it produces really transitory snippets of everyday life that make no sense 6 years down the line and do nothing to bring up the social capital of your followers or anyone, really. Okay. Moving on. In 2005, I went to Disney World. And I lived in San Diego, so Disneyland was an hour and 30 minutes away. We went often. But 2005, I went to Disney World, and it was awesome. I went with my friends, and we had a great time. This is Epcot Center. This is Disney World Hollywood Studios. If you can see in here, it looks kind of similar, doesn't it? So if you guys have been to Disney World, especially Epcot, you've noticed that Disneyland has or Disney World, Disney in general, their mimicry is outstanding, and it's pretty impressive, whether it's flawed or otherwise. However, this is Germany at the Epcot World Showcase. If you have ever been outside of America, which many of these suburban tourists haven't, this all seems pretty offensive. Wouldn't you agree? This is Main Street, USA, because this is obviously what America looks like. Look at these signs. This is in Disney World. Looks familiar, doesn't it? Yeah. So half of these pavilions at Epcot Center, they have like no cultural content whatsoever. This is the Moroccan one. The extent of the culture at the Moroccan pavilion is that they sell fezzes and carpets. Fez. They have torn up streets where cable cars never were, but they pretend that they were there. This is New Orleans Square. So, like I said, this is all pretty offensive if you've ever been like outside of your hometown. But yeah, luckily, people often see traveling, whether outside of America or within America, as a vacation to buy themed trinkets. So this works out pretty darn well for Disney. There we go. With a side note about Disney and the themed trinkets, you have Main Street lined with shops competing for your money, but they're not really competing because it all goes to the same person. So they create this capitalistic society where there's no competition really because it's all the same freaking people. Anyways. So Michael Eisner, Epcot Center opened, or Disney World Hollywood Studios opened, 1989. This is what he had to say. Welcome to the Hollywood that never was and always will be. All right, time to get some theory. So there's this concept called the heterotopia. And it's Disney World can be classified as this. It's capable of juxtaposing several places that are in themselves incompatible. A zoo is a great example of this because you can have penguins right next to the elephants, right next to the flamingos. And a mirror is also, a great example of this because well, it's kind of difficult, but we'll get there. So to dumb it down, places that are absolutely real and at the same time absolutely unreal. Here's a mirror. So why is the mirror like Disney World? Because they're both real and unreal. So I have to cheat here because this is harder for me to remember. So the process of a mirror is you see space in the mirror, right? And then you see yourself in the mirror. And then you see yourself in the mirror, so you then deduct that you're absent from the current space. So then you're in the mirror, and you look back on yourself, and you see yourself, and you realize, oh, there I am. So you go back to real space. And this is obviously recursive, and you just better get out of the mirror pretty fast, which is why, coincidentally, probably, maybe, if you look in the mirror for too long, you're going to become ugly. You know that's true. You stare at yourself for more than 30 seconds in the mirror, like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? I'm a freak. That doesn't happen to you guys? This broke. Hang on. There we go. Good. Okay. Back to Disney World. This is New Orleans Square in Disneyland or World. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. So funny story. Cliff and I were getting lunch a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, and we were talking about food in New Orleans because New Orleans was voted the best place for food in America. And we were like, oh yeah, they have the jambalaya and the gumbo and the beignets. And we talked about food in New Orleans for quite some time. And then at the end of the conversation, we both admitted that, we've never actually really been to New Orleans, and everything that we were saying about New Orleans, we got from the Disneyland New Orleans Square. So that doesn't really matter too much because we were probably right. But this really displays a bigger issue in that Disney often has the capability to water down and sanitize facts and history and display them in a much prettier package. Probably so you'll buy the themed merchandise. So it's really difficult to orient yourself in a place like Disneyland if you think about it because, for an example, you're going to see real birds and you're going to hear fake bird sounds. It's hard to distinguish what is real. Okay. So they gave you this watered-down Disneyfication of history, if you will. And it leads to what we call hyperreality, which is this rewritten history, or this dumbed-down version. We internalize it, and therefore we think it's real. So in the case of Disney, they promote United States as heaven, history as a decoration, colonialism was fun, and the other people, other parts of the world are cute, but it'd be really nice if they're more like us. And that's bad. That's bad. Can we agree on that? Okay. I realize that I've already gone through 88 slides, and I only have 95. How much time is left?
Just keep going. There'll be lots of questions.
Okay. So I'm not going to read this, but I'll give you like 5 minutes for you to read it. Are we done? Who said this? A French philosopher. I could pick from a list of 3. Not really sure which one it was, and it doesn't matter because I'd pronounce her name wrong anyways. Okay, moving on. Okay, yes, moving on. Zucking with you. So we had this concept of the gilded pastiche. Gilded, we can deduce, means covered with a thin layer of gold. And pastiche is, you can think of it as a collage or a hodgepodge of different things that are matched together to create one thing. Gilded pastiche. This is what we're going to call Facebook from now on. So this quote up here, once again, I'm not going to read it. This was from Montesquieu, and it relates to a study that Stanford did about a year ago, which proved that, or suggested that people view their friends as happier than they are when they go on Facebook. And if everybody thinks this, that obviously shows a problem because not everybody can think everybody else is sad. Anyways, so Facebook, in a sense, gives you this sad feeling because it's the opposite of the news. With the news, they only talk about the most depressing and awful stories, and they really drag them out as far as they can. With Facebook, it's the complete opposite. Their algorithms suggest that everything that be in front of you is good. Case in point, the like button. There's obviously no dislike button or hate button. So it's kind of suggested that you are only going to see the best and happiest news of your friends. And in a sense, they're giving you, they're reducing your life down to a bullet-pointed, Disneyified life. So, which is to say that they kind of strip out all the bad in your life and display you as this wholly happy person whose life is easily bullet listed, which is funny because there's bullet lists here. So this brings up some problems for the future, because what if we look back on Facebook and we see our profiles and we think that these events and only these events have happened? So this goes back to the hyperreality that I've been hinting at. That's a very big problem. So we need a resolve. We need a way to get out of this hyperreality that Disney and Facebook, Twitter, etc. have spawned. So we need a place where people can go online and share their real thoughts, memories, and ideas, and have them be all seen equally, whether good or bad. So, which is to say, chunk down to bullets of activities. Only if you're Russian. Dude, the LiveJournal is huge in Russia. Much love to LiveJournal. We can't hate on it. Without LiveJournal, we wouldn't have memcached, right? Right. So be comfortable with ourselves and our ideas, and we have to encourage open dialogue for all of its members, which aren't trumped down to 140 characters or less or more. So long-form data that we can really share ourselves and get good feedback on. So in a very early closing statement, I will say that Facebook and Twitter are sort of the McDonald's drive-thrus of social interaction. And I think we all need to sit down at a table and eat some plants. And that's all.